not making those silly faces when we start the live, because you know the first couple minutes is the thumbnail.
Yep.
And you're going to get stuck in your thumbnail like this.
Yeah, it's like playing chicken. Can you just make
we're bouncing.
Right?
Hold on, we don't want this to be touching the table.
Yeah, it should not be touching.
But we didn't bring the bag. Did we bring the bag?
No, we did not. We didn't.
Let me try to put this
battery
thing in
pack.
here. Hold on, guys. It's going to be wobbly for a minute. Sorry for the amusement park ride. We got a equipment malfunction. Oh, there. Ooh.
Oh, that makes a lot of difference.
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
Hi.
Interesting. Hey, Terry.
Is that good? The stand is not quite right, but... Okay.
Hey, Karen.
Can you see us? Can you see us both? Can you see all the important things and stuff? How is that? How's that? Can you hear us? Do we sound good? Do we look good? Hello.
Hi there.
How is everyone doing today? Yes, it is. It is afternoon, Desiree, and we are having one of those. No, it's been fine. It's just I can't believe it's 2:20 already. I feel like I haven't gotten anything done. You can't see outside right now, but as per usual, we've got beautiful blue skies and white fluffy clouds on one side and storm clouds on the other, because that seems to be how West Palm Beach is these days, every day.
Yep.
And Anna is not on with us right now because she is working on a voiceover audition. She's working on memorizing lines and some music. So she's going to be doing that. So we thought that we would get on and talk with you by ourselves because, you know, we live here too.
Or we're staying here too.
We are part of this page too, and so is Jamelli, and she wants you to know it. That's why she's off to the side right now going, oh, oh, oh. Go lay down. I tell you, it's always something. And I thought this would be a good opportunity to just talk about, you know, parenting stuff. If you guys have questions related to like parenting a child with special needs, parenting a gifted child, parenting a mini adult in a little kid body, parenting a sass face, parenting, what else? What other personas does she embody?
An actor.
Oh yeah, parenting an actor. So if you're just joining us for like the very first time in the last, hold on, wait up 1 minute before we get into things. I need to say this. It's critically important. I have discovered in the last 5 days that there is some hokey dokey-ness going on the platform. Shenanigans and stuff. It seems that people have noticed that, no thanks, Rinky, have a good day, bye. People have noticed that they have been unfollowed from the page, like not on their own accord. And so I just want to let everybody know, even if you're certain that you're following the page, do us a favor, and I'm going to put up some posts about this, but do us a favor and go double check your settings. Like when you get a chance, go to the page, click the like button at the top, and check. It'll say, do you want to do default or do you want to do favorites? And just do me a favor, just humor me, and just toggle it back to default and then back to favorites, because there's some weird behind the scenes cleanup happening, and a lot of people are getting unfollowed and they don't realize it. Like the page is still liked, but it's not following, and that could be what's happening with notifications for a lot of people. So just do me a favor, humor me, whether you think you have it, you know you have it, you look at it, it looks great, whatever. Just go to it, click the like button, a little menu will pop up. You go default, favorite, done, boom, should fix whatever, okay? Yeah, see, Susan says she was unfollowed 3 days in a row. I'm telling you, I noticed it in the like stats that I can see on the back end. I'm like, this is not normal. Gail says it happened to her too. Just trust me, guys. Just do us a huge favor, and everybody, every one of you, please do that. Just go do that real quick. It'll take 5 seconds, and hopefully it will fix. But yeah, there's some weirdness happening. Anyway, okay, done with my PSA for the day. Let's move on. So yeah, if you have any questions about stuff, throw them at us. We'll chit chat for a little bit. We're actually gonna go have an early dinner with a friend today, another friend that we have in the area, and so we have about an hour, and then we have to get ready to get out the door, right?
Yep.
Yes. So, yeah, see, it's happened to a lot of people. So thank you guys for taking a moment to double check all of that. I appreciate it so much. We're trying to implement something new to help out with that, but Brenda says, being as intelligent as she is, how does she react when she has a difficult time with learning something? You know, for the most part, she's pretty good about it, really. She's so interested in learning that she doesn't often get super frustrated. You know what's funny about Anna, ever since she was an infant, basically, or a toddler, she's done this thing, this like kind of perfectionism thing that you would think would be like a learned thing, but it's clearly not, because she's been doing it since she was a baby. Because we would see it even when she was an infant in PT, in physical therapy with her therapist. We would see her do this thing where she would outright refuse to do something new until she was certain that she was going to do it right. Like, we're talking therapy stuff, right? Like, pick this up and put it here, or whatever the case may be. She would just refuse. So she wouldn't get upset or cry. She was just like, no, I'm not doing that. But then once she saw you do it enough times, and once she felt that she had her head wrapped around how to do it, then she would do it. And so I think Anna has kind of set herself up in a way she's like programmed herself to kind of get a lot of things on the first try, like the first or second try. And you'll hear her tell you, like, my rule of thumb has always been with her that she has to try at least 3 times before I will jump in and help her. Because the reason for that is I never wanted to be a hindrance to her independence, because I don't think it's good, especially for kids with special needs, if you help them all the time, if you just jump right in and help them all the time. I think that it's easy to do because you feel bad, or you think, oh, they're probably not going to be able to do that, so you just want to jump in and, like, it makes it faster, easier, or not so hard on them. But I think ultimately that hurts them. And so I've always had that rule that she has to try at least 3 times. And I think that has encouraged her over the years. Like, she's learned by doing and being successful at doing that if she tries 1 or 2 or 3 times, she's likely going to get it and not need that help. And that builds her confidence. But I will say that in most cases, she gets it right the first 1 or 2 times. And so she doesn't usually run into a circumstance where she can't get something and she's frustrated. And she's pretty good about that whole, like, old adage of, if at first you don't succeed, try again. So, school, why are you squishing away? Come back in the frame. Let's see. Yeah, that's so just a side note that we've known a couple people who have been unsubscribed. If you're a subscriber, you might want to double check that too. because that's happened in the last few days, over the last month as well. Pete says, turning on the fan took her a while. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of instances over the last few years where you guys can legitimately watch her go through the process of figuring something out, and you can see her demeanor and her determination to do that. Donna says, special needs and atypical children too. Some parents jump in too quickly and don't give their kids a chance to figure things out. Yeah, I think, I think it's hard because sometimes parents they feel rushed. Like you're trying to get somewhere or do something, or you got stuff going on and you feel like, I don't have time to wait, or whatever the case may be. There's various reasons why.
I feel like when I first met Anna and when I was around her, I would just jump at anything. And I think that was it set up a kind of a not a good precedence, because she then would always say, Daddy, do that, and so I had to kind of step back a little bit and kind of remind her that, figure it out first, then I'll do all the things that you can do on your own, and then I'll step in.
Yeah, I think that was extra hard for you coming in because you're such a helper. Like, you're the type of person who, if someone says, I need help, you're right there. So I think that was definitely an extra hurdle for you to figure out. And I remember that. I remember distinctly the first year we were together telling you, like, no, don't do that. And you're like, wait, what? Don't? And I'm like, no, she can do that. Don't do that. So, yeah. Yeah, she's very smart and very determined. I can think of very few instances. Can you think of any where she gets frustrated and like upset and breaks down and throws a fit or anything like that? And even if she tries something and she doesn't get it, I feel like she's really good about, like, let me just take a step back.
Right.
And come back to it.
I've never seen any like tantrums or,
Oh, Betty says, how do you find the balance between her academic and emotional IQ and her chronological age? So, honestly, I've never paid any attention to her chronological age. And, I know that there's a lot of people out there who will disagree with me and feel like she needs to be sheltered or protected or kept from certain information, or that she's not emotionally ready for certain things and all that, whatever. And like, I'm not telling anyone else how to parent their kid. You make your own decisions for your child. But for my child, I always just knew in my gut from day one that her age had nothing to do with anything. Like, she was just so obviously alert and attentive from day one that I didn't want to hold her back. And the only way to do that is to basically just throw everything at her with the assumption that she can absorb some part of it. And, I've never really been concerned about the content or, clearly I'm not exposing her to things that are dangerous or destructive or whatever. But, you know what I mean? Like, from the time she was an infant, I had diarrhea of the mouth from day one. I'm not kidding you. We would be driving around in the car and I would be narrating every second. There was no music on in our car. It was me. Anna, oh, look at the buildings outside. Do you see those buildings? Oh, look at that red car. Hey, there's a big tree. Do you see the big tree? Aren't the clouds pretty? Look at that dog out there. It was just narration from day one, just constant verbal stimulation. And then, teaching her complex concepts and how things work and talking to her about life. Like, I've just never put a barrier in place. I've always figured that whatever she is able to figure out and understand, she will. And I've always known that she's always asked questions. So whatever she wants to know that she doesn't already know, she will speak up and ask. And she knows that I'll tell her the truth, no matter what it is. And whatever she's not ready for or she's not interested in, it just goes over her head. And for Anna, that has worked out very well. We haven't run into any situations where she hasn't asked about anything that I've felt she's not ready to learn about. And she, as you know, she knows a lot more than most kids her age, and she understands it, right? So I think that, I've just been relatively unconcerned with the, emotionally, she's always been advanced, and cognitively, she's always been advanced, and academically, she's always been advanced. So I just don't put any barriers in front of her. I don't know why. I can't tell you really why I decided to parent that way, because I was like that with my older two children too. I was very open, always very open. We've always had a very open and still to this day relationship. They've always known that they can talk to me about anything, even if they feel it's inappropriate, and I will give them honest information and have a straight up discussion about it. Yeah. I think that she definitely picks things up faster than the other two did, for sure, but that she's a little more advanced than they were cognitively. Let's see. Yes, Gabby, I have two other children. I have two grown children. They're 25 and 28. I have a daughter and a son. So Anna is my third baby that I'm raising. And my last. I won't be having any more. I won't be adopting anymore. I won't be acquiring anymore. Probably won't be babysitting anymore for a while. They show up on my doorstep and say, "Sorry, kid, I'm done.
I'm retired."
Lisa says, "You're parenting that way because you listen to your intuition." Yeah, I've always just wanted to have a really close relationship with my children, but it can be hard because you do have to establish, like, I'm the parent and you have to listen to me. But at the same time, I want to have this open dialogue with you. And it can be a fine line, especially when they get into those teenage years and they start clamming up a little bit more. You just have to make them comfortable. They need to not be uncomfortable to come to you and talk to you. Does Anna ever? Yeah, of course. Anna knows them and sees them and talks to them, and we video chat and all of that, of course. This way, sideways. Look for a question for you. All right, we're looking for any more questions. She's already a teenager.
Some ways,
she acts like it sometimes.
Like it,
yeah. Let's see. Lisa says, "Thank you, Lisa. Good parents from what I can see." Anna didn't get that way on her own. Yeah, I know. I say that all the time because sometimes people don't like me as much and they're like, "Meh," and I'm like, well, she turned out this way for a reason. Diamond says, "How do you discipline Anna?" So Anna has a calming corner that, and a lot of times she kind of disciplines herself. Like if she's feeling out of sorts or if she's getting snotty or whatever, she'll take herself to her calming corner. And in that corner, she's got comfortable, cozy place to sit. She's got posters on the wall that help her identify her feelings, which she's kind of beyond that at this point. That was, more for when she was 3. but she still likes them. She still likes to be able to look at them and say, yeah, I'm definitely feeling angry right now, or I'm definitely feeling frustrated.
She's got books there.
She's got books that talk about feelings and how to work through them and how to turn, negative emotions into positive forward motion. She's got fidget toys.
Like puzzles and things.
To kind of help her decompress. So her calming corner is a big thing. But every once in a while, she is just over the top. We can't get like a handle on it and in that moment. And so she goes into the actual corner, which is like across the room catty corner from her calming corner. So once in a while, she has to go stand in the corner, and she's good about that too. She gets it. She takes herself there and she'll stay there until she like calms down enough for her calming corner or to talk or whatever. And then she'll be like, okay, I'm ready. And then she'll come out and she'll apologize. There's been times where she's, it's like you can tell that she's getting crabby, but you can tell that she's not really like, it's not really like a huge, like, okay, you're out of hand thing. And so at that point, I think we just pretty much send her to her room, let her go read, take some time to herself. That's a good thing. There's not very many instances where we've had to take things away. And I've found over the years with my other two as well that it's just not super effective. She's just like, I don't care. Whatever. I got other things to do, Yeah. So, let's see. Lisa says, I grew up in the day when we were told to stand in the corner. Yeah. Yeah, that's once in a while that happens. Betty says she definitely seems well modulated. Yeah. Marcia, you can go back and watch the video from the day that he had his eye appointment to catch up on that. We talked about it back on that day.
Beth loves her hair.
Oh, thank you. It's freshly showered. Donna says, it looks like most of the time all it takes is a stern stop that to get her back on track. That's true. She is pretty good about, okay, I got it. I'll get it under control. Yeah. Have you noticed changes in her overall life with having help with her service dog? I feel like she's even more independent in some ways now since we got Gemelli. And I think that part of that is not just her having Gemelli's help, but her feeling responsible for Gemelli. I think that's been a big component of it, is now she's like, okay, that's my dog and I'm responsible for her, and I, feed her, and I, make sure she's good, and I can get her whenever I need her to help me with something. And so, yeah, I think Gemelli's been she's been a really positive force in our family in many ways, not just for Anna, which we've talked to Four Paws about, because we have these check-ins we had them every week, right, at first, and then we went to every month. And we've talked to them about this, and they said that that's what happens. That's completely normal, because the dog is part of the family and not just living alone with, one person. So it's typical for the Four Paws dogs that they have different roles and different things going on, like different family dynamics, So yeah, Gemelli's amazing. I can't even imagine life without her at this point. I do remember what it was like to not have hair all over, but I wouldn't trade it.
It says Anna is 7 3/4 today.
She is.
Wow.
We'll have to let her know that. That's cool. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Christine. That's so kind. Thank you. Yeah, Anna's going to be 8 in November, which is mind-numbing.
And Gemelli's going to be 2.
Yep, and Gemelli will be 2 in November. That's right. They're both November babies. One at the beginning and one at the end. Hi, Susie. Thank you.
Hello. I love Sydney.
Cindy says, funny to see Aaron in a plain t-shirt. Oh, yeah.
Well, it's on the images on the back.
Yeah, the decals on the back today. Jennifer, my other 2 children are 25 and 28. Thank you, Denise. Beth says, I love the peach shirt. You know, when Aaron did that photo shoot, the commercial photo shoot with Anna at Disney World last year, they put him in a salmon peachy color, and it looked really good on him then too. Cheryl says, tell us about your parenting skills now, Aaron. Yeah, you want to talk about like what experience you had coming into the family and what you feel like you've learned and things like that?
I had no parenting training at all. I've never been a parent in any way. I never even really babysat anybody or had any younger siblings, so it was not definitely not anything that I'd had any training or experience in. Now I still think I'm at the very beginning. Like, I've just got so much to learn. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like still I'm very much a novice.
But what have you learned? There's got to be some things you feel like you've kind
of... that kids will pick up on things that you say, that you might even say in passing, and they'll just latch onto it, or they'll repeat it, and you're like, ooh, you shouldn't have said that, or why? Where did you? Oh, you must have heard me talking about that the other day, or that's really interesting to me, like how much of an impact that you can make without even realizing it.
Well, it's always fun with Anna because she'll hear it, and then she might sit on it for a day or two, and then she'll ask you about it. She'll be like, well, what does this mean? And you're like, where'd you hear that?
Yeah.
And she's like, the other day. And you're like, oh, okay, well, that is blah, 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 blah.
Well, here's a good example. We've kind of talked about in the past few days. You've seen Anna with she's doing her ventriloquism stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a conversation that Anna and I had like months ago. Talking about, I think there was like some sort of, maybe there was a class in Out School, and I was like, oh, hey, look, there's a ventriloquism class. She's like, what's that? And so I just told her, well, it's how like you can make it sound like your voice is somewhere else and they can't see that you're actually speaking. You learn how to not move your mouth, and you can speak without moving your mouth or lips. And then just the other day on the live, she started doing it.
I know. I was blown away. I was like, what?
Yeah, so she must have been like, she probably thought about it. She's probably been practicing this whole time on her own.
Because she won't do it until she feels like she can actually do it. That's the way she is about everything.
Yeah. And
so
she's talking about sitting on it. I mean,
for 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how she is. Yeah. She's always been that way. Cheryl says, Anna's really smart. What is her IQ? So the last time she was tested, it was 145.
Now, will that fluctuate at all? Or?
They said that there's 15-point standard deviation, which means that it can fluctuate over growth to 15 points below that or 15 points above that. There's the option of testing again, which in reality for her isn't really necessary, except for the fact that I would like to get her into the Davidson Scholars Program, because that'd be really good for her going into college, and that program requires an IQ test. But I talked about this on a live the other night. There's a little bit of a difficulty with Anna can't have a standard IQ test because she has her physical disabilities which affect the timed portion of the testing. So you have to find someone who is able to do the accommodated testing, and they're like few and far between. So, but someone reminded me, sorry?
I was going to say, man, if you want to make some money, you could specialize in doing that.
Yeah, that's true.
For that kind of situation.
Yeah, because there's not very many people. But someone reminded me on the live when we were talking about it the other day that she maybe could, instead of taking the test, retaking the test, she could present a portfolio. So I need to look into that. So Pete says, I missed the ventriloquism. What live was that on? I don't know, Pete. It was one maybe like 3 days ago. We were sitting here at the table, I think in the evening. So
pretty wild.
It was. I was shocked. I was like, what that's insane. You're actually really good at that.
We need to get her like a little marionette or puppet.
Yeah, we should. We should get her some kind of. I wonder if they have like an electronic kind of like something on a stand that has buttons instead of her having to put her hand up it because she can't do.
Yeah.
We could look around.
Yeah.
Maybe that'd be a good Christmas present.
Right.
Was it the parfait video? I don't think so, Jennifer. I think it might have been the night before that or the night before that. Kathy, yeah, that's what I was just talking about there. So there's a program called Davidson Scholars that I'd like to get her into, but Mensa, from what I've done the research, and it's just not really worth it. Like, it's more for bragging rights than anything, and we don't really care about that. But the Davidson Scholars program would actually provide her with some good opportunities. So. She could be a Jeff Dunham. Yeah. Jeff Dunham on a stick. My kids used to love watching him when they were, my older kids used to love watching him when they were younger. Kay, you can leave and come back and you should be able to fix that. Teresa, IQ doesn't go by age, so there's not that's not how they measure it.
What is like standard, like what is the average?
The average is like 80. Like, or yeah, I think it is. It is just under 100 somewhere. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Gabby says, when you became Anna's guardian, what was the hardest part in the beginning? I think so. There were probably two things that I had to overcome when I first started taking care of her full time. One is the fact that I was in grad school full time. I was at University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, working on. I just started my master's degree, so I had a year and a half of my master's program to finish, while taking care of a child with special needs who had 265 medical appointments per year. We were at therapy 3-4 times a week. I had to fly her to Philly for surgeries. So that was a lot. That was a lot to juggle and figure out, especially since I don't have help. I never had help from family. I didn't have, like my friend who was also in grad school, my friend Sarah, helped me out a lot with like watching her. And I had amazing professors and discussion section leaders who were cool with me bringing her to class. And sometimes we joke around about how that's one of the reasons why Anna's so smart, is because Anna was attending my classes at University of Michigan, Ann Arbor in the environmental studies program. She was attending my classes in discussion sections from the time she was 6 months old all the way up through like a year old. And let me tell you, that child at 6, 7, 8 months old sat in those discussion sections awake at the table, silent, listening and looking at everyone around the table as they spoke and just listening to them. It was the weirdest thing. People were like, I cannot believe this child never cries. Like, sometimes she'd be drinking a bubba, but most of the time she would just sit and chill and listen, or she'd sleep. So yeah,
she was absorbing, processing.
So juggling the scheduling thing while I was in grad school was a challenge. And then the other thing that I had to overcome, as some of you may know, because I've talked about it before, I have an anxiety disorder that I was diagnosed with when my son was a year old, so 24 years ago. So the first 6-7 years of my diagnosis, it was really bad. Like, I had panic attacks, just random panic attacks, to the point, they were bad enough to the point that I would black out. And I was terrified for a couple of years to even leave the house with my children, because I was afraid that I was going to pass out at the grocery store and stuff. And I was a single mom, it was just me and them. So I didn't want to be out with them and have a panic attack and not be able to take care of them. So that kind of kept me in the house for a couple of years when they were little. I've had to, over time, overcome that anxiety. And going back to school was a huge help with that, because being able to get through my associate's degree and then getting accepted to U of M and going through my bachelor's degree, those things help build my confidence. I did have a rough bout with my anxiety in my undergrad program before Anna was born, at which point I went and got therapy. What was it called again?
Cognitive behavioral.
Yes, CBT therapy, which is super helpful for anxiety. So I had a CBT therapist for like maybe 8 months during my undergrad, and that was super helpful. So by the time Anna came along, I had, gotten myself to a certain point with my anxiety. However, like I said, I had to travel with her. I had to take her out of state for medical care, because you can't get medical care locally for an AMC'er unless you happen to live where the specialists are. So we had to travel from Michigan to Pennsylvania when she was under 3, when I was in grad school, for her medical care. This was before we switched to Paley down here in Florida. And that was really hard for me. Like packing up an infant and getting on a plane and traveling. I had not traveled much in my lifetime because I was a single mom, didn't have money for that. So getting on a plane with a baby and traveling to Philly, a big city, and figuring out my way around and navigating, taking her to her appointments and everything, that was definitely something I had to overcome when I started taking care of her full time.
How was it the very first time?
I was scared. I never...
Because you had no example of doing it before, right? You were
right.
Just like, can I do this? Or is this going to have someone down?
I don't remember ever having a major panic attack while traveling with her, thank goodness. I think there were some times where I felt a little like, oof, this is a lot. I need to calm down. But I think just the sheer determination of not being vulnerable while traveling with a child kept me from just totally losing it. But man, it took some time. It took some time for me to every time we went, it was one more notch under my belt, right? Like every time you overcome one of those challenges, when you have anxiety, it's another time that you can say, you know what? I did that and I was okay. So next time I could probably do it again. And just the more you do it and the more you kind of expose yourself to it, like exposure therapy, right? The more confidence you have in yourself that it's going to be okay. You kind of build up that track record. So, yeah.
People were saying that the video, the ventriloquist video, was the carrot cake one.
Oh, okay, the dessert. Okay, yeah, I knew it was an evening one, so that makes sense. Yeah, so look for the video where I think the title is Carrot Cake or Baklava. Gabby says, do you and Aaron butt heads when it comes to Anna's care? No, not at all. Aaron has been amazing about look, I'm new here. You guide me. You tell me what to do.
Yeah, I'm not coming in as like, well, I've had kids before and I know how to do this. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Just let me know what I got to do. So.
Yeah. Well, even outside of parenting, you're not a dominant male. And he told me that when we were dating, when we were courting, and we were talking online for over a year before we got together in person. I distinctly remember the conversation where you were like, usually I just take a back seat. Like I'm fine with whatever. I'm pretty go with the flow. Mm-hmm. And when I want to speak up, when I have something to interject, I will. But for the most part,
as long as I'm treated with respect, and I'll just go with the flow and for the team.
Which is good because, as most of you know, I'm a very dominant female. I'm very alpha. I'm very in control of everything, on top of everything, manage everything, plan everything, organize everything. Very type A. I've always been that way. That's how I keep it together. I've always had to. I've been a single mom. I've had to do everything myself most of the time, and there's a lot to juggle when you're a single parent. So. Yeah, Terry says, it's a good thing he's laid back because you're like me, in charge. Bonnie, same as your household. Yeah, I think there's a lot of instances where opposites attract and work well together, like the yin and yang, right? And I'm not sure what you mean. She said, is it normal for an adult with autism to want one more than the other? I'm not sure what you mean. You might have to rephrase that so I can read it again. Right, it balances things out for sure. Hello in Ukraine.
Hope you're well.
Yes.
I wonder if they know about the Alex character.
Andy.
Oh, Andy, yeah. On TikTok.
Yeah, we follow a young girl on TikTok. She goes by the name Andy. I don't know if that's her real name. She's
from Ukraine.
She's in
Korea
right now, and she's from Ukraine, and we really enjoy her. She's wonderful. Judy says, how did you meet? So there's actually a whole video about that Aaron did by himself. It's over on our other page. Aaron and I have a page that it was kind of like a spin-off just for he and I to get on together. I think we might be actually transitioning it to something new soon here because we haven't been using it for that purpose. But if you go over to that page, it's called Princess Anna's A-Team. You can find the video where Aaron talks all about how we met. Angela says, how did you do it on her own when she had her surgeries? Oof. I mean, I just did it, right? Like you just do it. You just do what you got to do. I mean, it wasn't any different than taking her to her appointments. It was hard at times. I didn't have a ton of support. Once they took her back into the OR, I always, no matter what, even if I have support, I would break down crying, but at least now I have someone to cry on. Whereas before, I just sit and cry by myself. But you just do it. And I think Anna and I found a lot of strength in each other. Like she's always been advanced, and I've always known that it was going to quell Anna's concern about her surgeries and her treatments if I am very straightforward and honest about what's going on, even when I wasn't sure if she would understand it all. But again, same thing. I would still sit and tell her exactly what was going to happen, exactly how it was going to work. I would flat out tell her, this is going to be hard. It's going to hurt. Like each day is going to get better, but there's going to be difficult days, and we're going to work through it together. And so I feel like she was always kind of prepared for what was coming, which helped her handle it better. And I was able to find strength in myself because it was just the two of us. And what else can you do? It's kind of like when people ask me like, well, it's so amazing that you took her on full time. Like you didn't have to do that, or a lot of people wouldn't do that. And I'm like, to me, there was no other option. What do you do? It's like when things get hard, you can't just give up. You can't just throw your hands in the air, go sit in the corner and not do anything.
That's when you need to act the most. I think it's the toughest, right?
Yeah. So I can't, it's hard to answer those questions because I'm like, I don't really know. I just kind of did it. You just put one foot in front of the other and take it moment by moment, and you just do what you got to do. And somehow things work out in the end.
But she's still like that. Like if you explain things to her, then she's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
If you don't, she's like, whoa, what's happening?
Well, that's because she's like me. We're so alike, and really, like, I get a lot of anxiety when I don't fully understand something. But if you take the time to explain to me in detail how something works or exactly what's going to happen, then I can stay calm and deal with it.
Hey, Jersey.
Gabby says, what is one thing about Anna's condition you wish people would understand? Ooh, that's a good one. Let's each do. Do you want to go first?
I gotta think about that one.
Okay. One thing about Anna's condition that I wish people would understand is that it has only made her a stronger person. We get, and even just in the last few days, we've had quite a few comments where people are like, oh, the poor girl, the poor dear, look what she's going through. And I know that people mean well, and that it's just like their way of having sympathy or empathy for what she's going through. But it makes Anna mad. When she reads comments like that, she gets upset because she's like, I'm not a poor girl. Like she has grown to be such an amazing force of strength within herself. Like it's really intrinsic. Her motivation is very intrinsic. And I just wish people could understand that. It's really hard for people. They don't get like the whole thing about her hands and her saying, look, I'm not going to go through treatment on my hands anymore. I don't need to. I don't want to. They're fine the way they are. I love them. I function. And people are like, well, that doesn't make sense. If she had the opportunity to fix them, she would. And it's like, how can you say that?
I suppose if you, at some point earlier on in your life, you had your hands were different and maybe they don't work the same way, you would like kind of long for how it used to be, but it never was for her, so it's never been an issue. It's just she learned how to do it with what she was given, and she's done well with that. It's
literally like the same thing as you guys living with hands just like this, and then you decide to go in and get surgery to club them, and then go back to your life. It's literally the same thing. Just because they're different doesn't mean they're any less valuable or any less worthy, or they function and like in a detrimental way. Like you can look at AMCers, there's plenty of adult AMCers online, and you can see them time and time again. They figure out a way to do what they need to do.
Yeah, some people use their feet, and it's not a problem for them. That's how they learn how to do it.
Yeah, so it's not even just with Anna. I wish to all of you right now watching and everyone who comes after, give people with disabilities the benefit of the doubt. Don't assume that they can't do something. Don't assume that they don't know something. Don't assume that they need your help. Give them the benefit of the doubt, because honestly, everybody just wants to be treated like everyone else. They want to have the opportunity to do it themselves, to figure it out, to do their own thing. Don't try to jump in and, you can ask, but yeah, I think that's an important one. What about you? Did you think of something?
I think one of the things that I see a lot of is just the way that people approach or ask about differences is kind of, I don't know. I think if they asked in more of a, like in this, ask a question as opposed to like, pointing something out and saying something, or kind of, I think it makes a lot of difference. And I think that people tend to, they tend to not, I don't know, it's not that they ignore people that have disabilities, but I'm sure a lot of people would be happy if you came up and just started talking to them, right? Because a lot of times people don't. They avert their eyes or walk away, don't say anything. But if you just went up and just started talking to them, and then maybe through that way, just, hey, this is interesting, I wanted to learn more about you, then they probably would like to talk to you about it, because then they're helping educate and advocate for their own disabilities.
Yeah, I think it's hard because people don't know how to approach it, and that's valid, that's legitimate. Like if
I've been guilty of that,
If you've not been taught how to approach someone with a difference, how to approach them tactfully and respectfully, then it's intimidating, because you don't want to say the wrong thing, and you don't want to be offensive, and you're curious, but you don't want to bother them if they don't want to be bothered, and all of that kind of stuff. Like all of those social things happen. It's understandable. So, my best advice for that situation that I tell people is like, if you notice that someone has a difference, any kind of difference, whether it's physical, developmental, They function in a different way, whether it's that individual person or the parent of someone. If you go up to them in a very kind way and you say, hi, my name is whatever, and I noticed the difference with your insert whatever here. I noticed the difference in the way your son is reacting to the environment right now, or I noticed the difference in your hands, or I noticed the difference in the way you get around. And I was just curious. I don't want to intrude. If you don't want to talk about it, I totally understand. But I just thought I would ask, and see if you're willing. And I think you'll find, like Aaron said, that sometimes people are willing. They're willing to sit and chat if they have time, if they're not trying to get somewhere and do something. They would be willing to explain, especially people who, like us, are living with a rare condition, because there's not enough awareness of rare conditions. And so it's always a good day when you can educate someone about that. But I think that's really the best way to approach it, is just approach it with kindness and respect, and say, I noticed the difference, and I'm just curious to learn more if you're willing. And if not, that's totally fine. I hope you have a great day.
I think even like what I've started doing is, if I see someone difference, just like walking by them, I'll just like nod and say, hey, hi. I think that, because I think a lot of times people pretend to ignore, and so you go through life feeling like you're invisible.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, either you're being gawked at or you're feeling invisible. So just even the acknowledgement, like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
That probably makes a lot of difference, I would think.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's even been difficult, especially in the last few years, because people have gotten out of practice socializing. Kara, has Anna watched Ryan Page? Ryan and Anna are friends. They've known each other for years. Actually, if you Google AMC Princess Anna and Ryan Page, you will find the interview that Anna did when she was just 4 years old. She interviewed Ryan. And they sing together, and that's a lot of fun. And then Ryan sang for us for a fundraiser event. Yes, we do know Ryan. Debbie says, I noticed you're following. Oh, yeah. Fathering Autism. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in fact, they popped on our live the other day. Yeah. That was interesting. I've been following them for years, because my son was diagnosed with Asperger's at age 8, and he's now 25.
I actually followed them before I even knew, and I think maybe that's why you guys popped up, because he was following them.
Yeah, we're thinking that that Fathering Autism page might have been the connecting spark
algorithm.
Yeah, the algorithm thing that had Aaron find us. So that's an interesting little tidbit. And they live in Florida as well. But yeah, I think they're great parents, and I love what they're doing with Abby, and I love watching their story. So they're definitely like the role models of family vloggers. So they do a great job.
And that guy's got skill of holding the camera and like,
yeah, I'm jealous of him right now, because he's still vlogging the old-fashioned way, and I wish we could get back to that instead of doing live streams all the time. But it's just, once you get out of, and that's what Anna and I did until she was like 4, was the old school family vlogging, where you video the day and then you edit it all and then you post it like the day or 2 later. That's what we used to do exclusively. Barely ever did live streams. And then now we got into live streaming the summer of 2020, because we didn't have good enough data connection to upload videos. That's how we got into live streaming, and then we just got into it more and more since then. So, there's pros and cons to it, but yeah, I'm envious of his diligence with the video editing. Kind of miss it in a way, but kind of don't, because it takes a long time.
Yeah, I remember you being up all night long every day.
Yeah, definitely.
Sometimes they follow Lacey Rose. Do you know who Lacey Rose is?
No. Let's see how much time we have.
Yeah, Angela, I've seen the look into Kelly's heart. She's a real sweet, sweet girl.
I've watched those as well. Okay, we've got about 15 minutes, and then we got to cut out to go grab dinner with a friend. Will you guys ever go back to vlogging? I don't know. It depends. Yeah, maybe. Let's see. Looking for. We can do a couple more questions, and then we have to go. Gabby says, when you guys are in public, do people stare at Anna? Does Anna have a hard time playing with other children because they don't understand her condition? So people don't typically stare at, well, okay, so I take it back. Children do tend to stare at Anna, especially if she's like in her wheelchair or even if it's just her braces. Children do tend to stare. Anna has, over time, formulated her own way of. Do you want to tell them how she's been?
Like, if they're like staring at her,
she's like,
what?
What?
I love it.
Adults don't typically stare. Adults typically like. It's funny. They either like avert they just like go about. They look and then they go about what they're doing, or sometimes, especially when we're at like Disney. They do like this deer caught in headlights thing. Like they're walking up and we're pushing her in the wheelchair and they stop and they're like, and they just stand there for a minute and it's like, dude, we're about to run into you. And then they're like, oh my gosh, and they get out of the way. So, yeah, it's interesting. But no, there's not a ton of like, and Anna's so oblivious, like she just doesn't care. So, she's never felt like stared at or bullied or she's never felt any of that.
I think the most when somebody stares is when they come up and they recognize us.
Yeah, we get recognized most of the time. And so she's grown pretty accustomed to that. What was the second question?
Are you going to end the page?
Huh?
So it says, are you ending the page? No.
No, the second question that she asked. I'm sorry. I don't remember what the second question was. I'm sorry. Ending the page. What are you talking about?
I don't know. No.
Let's see. I would stare at her because she's such a cute person. Yeah, Julie. Yeah, it was great when it wasn't so, nerve-wracking being in groups of people and stuff. We would go to like Target. Anna and I would go to Target regularly and just wander for like 2 hours. That was like a thing that we did often. And we would, just go up and down the aisles looking at things and stuff. And she would always strike up a conversation with people, like adults. She would just like, they would hear her talking and they'd be like, wow, you're really, knowledgeable, or you speak really well, or whatever the case may be. And so then she'd turn and she'd start talking to them. Yeah, and so it got to the point where she would start telling people, like, you can find me online and watch my videos. And so I had little business cards made for her, little glittery pink business cards that she would carry in her purse and hand out to people randomly. Well, not randomly, but people who, struck up, like, usually moms that struck up a conversation with her at Target. She would be like, and by the way, here's my card. You can follow me online. She was the funniest.
The other question was, was it playing with other kids? And do they...
Oh, yeah. Does she have... Gotcha. No, Anna doesn't have difficulty playing with other kids. The issue that usually happens with Anna and other kids is that most of the time, unless they are also very advanced, any kids under like age 9, she just is kind of bored by, like they're not on the same...
Interests are totally different.
They don't even talk the same way. They don't even communicate at the same level that she does. So it's kind of like there's not really a connection there. And it's been that way ever since she was very little. When she was like 3 and 4 in preschool, in her Montessori preschool, she was hanging out with the 5 and 6 year olds. So she's really just more geared towards, you know, kids that are like 2, 3 years older than her, because they just communicate at like the same level, the same wavelength, about the same things. They understand each other better. So, and she's not, her style of play has always been, and this is kind of where the potential autism diagnosis comes into play. She's always been an independent player. She doesn't really, I don't want to say she doesn't play well with other children. She just never really had an interest in, like, even if when her and Ella are playing together, it's more side-by-side play. It's not like collaborative, you know, doing things together play. And both girls are very intelligent and very independent. And they'll build like a little city, whatever, together with Anna's toys, but then the action happens on an independent level. And then they get into the part where they have to, you know, agree on things. And so they don't, and they end up playing separately. But that's, Anna's just always, even when she was in Montessori preschool, she opted, rather than, you know, getting an activity and sitting with other kids and playing, she would prefer to take the activity off by herself and do it undisturbed, rather than do group play. She never really enjoyed circle time that much, and my son was the exact same way. In fact, that was one of the things that led to his Asperger's diagnosis, was the noticeable issue when it was time to join circle time in preschool and kindergarten. So yeah, there's a lot of similarities there. And anyway, but yeah, you put her in with older kids and in a more like mature environment, like her biology class.
A lot of classes. Yeah.
She's amazing in that biology class, and it's more lecture style. Like, you just sit there and listen to the lecture, and she's in that class with kids who are like 13, 14, 15 years old, and it's perfect for her. She loves it. She learns a lot. She engages. She talks to everybody. She sits and listens. Like, that is her speed. Cynthia, my son is 25 and he lives in Michigan. Oh, okay. We've got just a couple minutes, maybe time for one more question, then we gotta go. This has been good talking to you guys today. I'm glad we did this. Can you talk about Anna's schooling moving forward and what she does for school? So Anna's homeschooled at this point exclusively. She did Montessori preschool between 2.5 and 4.5, and she was in preschool like between 2 and 2.5, like a regular preschool, just a play-based preschool. At 4.5, she stopped going to Montessori preschool, and I started homeschooling her, and I will continue to homeschool her up until she's finished with her high school diploma. And that's the plan at this point. She's just starting 4th grade curriculum right now, so that's the school plan.
I think people were asking about, you know, you were talking about changing our spin-off page. So it's like, are you ending it? No,
we're not going to shut it down. We might just change the content away from, because Aaron and I at this point were like, you know what, this is our family vlog page, and if we want to get on here and talk to you guys without Anna, that's what we're going to do. And people just, you know, there was like, when Aaron first joined the family, there was a lot of negative pushback. People were really nasty about Aaron joining the family, and they were really like upset about us being on this page without Anna. But the fact of the matter is, this is not Anna's page. This is my page that I started when Anna was little.
No, before she was little.
Well, not this page. The other group I started before she was born. This page I started when she was little for the purpose of sharing mine and Anna's life with you all. And that it's always been like me and Anna. And then Aaron joined the family, and now it's the 3 of us. And then Jameli joined the family, and now it's the 4 of us. So at any point in time, you're going to get any variation of the 4 of us. But the content revolves around our family and our life together and going through this medical journey together and Anna's homeschooling and just whatever's going on with us. So that's what you can expect. That's what it is. And so just don't feel like the need to have a separate page anymore for Aaron and I to talk to you guys about our family, because that should be happening here. So I think that we're going to maybe transition that into some more interesting and fun things that aren't so personal and family centric, but we'll see. I always say I'm going to do things. I get lofty goals and then I get bogged down. So
we'll let you know when it actually happens.
You'll know. You'll notice. Okay, and I saw real quick before we go, someone asked what is 2E.
Yeah,
so
what is 2E?
2E stands for twice exceptional. It's a term that is used to describe children or people who have more than one diagnosis or more than one thing going on. So Anna has her arthrogryposis. She has the fact that she's gifted and very advanced. And I think that she's probably going to be diagnosed on the spectrum, but I need to take her for an evaluation to be sure. It's just my guess at this point, based on my experience with my son, who was diagnosed with Asperger's when he was 8. And just seeing the similarities between them and seeing some things that have, Anna's been displaying lately. So I don't have an official diagnosis for her yet. We're going to be exploring that over the coming months. But that's what 2E stands for.
I did not know that.
She's actually probably 3E, but I don't think that's a term.
Multifaceted.
Yeah. Extra special. All right, guys, we have to go. We got to get ready. We got to hit the road. So we will probably catch up with you guys later tonight after we get back. Okay? Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Thank you.
Bye.